Seeing your team win is an indescribable feeling. No matter the situation, nothing beats winning. As a football fan, we get to witness scrappy wins, boring wins, controversial wins, and utter demolition wins. Everyone counts, but we all look forward to our team putting 7 past our rivals on a cold night. However, things can also go the other way, and our team gets on the wrong side of history. In matches where teams get wrecked by rivals, there is no worse feeling, and the memory lingers forever, which can contribute to annoying bragging rights from neighbors and a bitter knife twist when we remember such games. 2, where our teams get sunk by major rivals or even underdogs. Moments like these remain in history, if not directly affecting a result, but in bragging rights. Welcome to Football Pro. In this video, we're going to look at the 10 of the most humiliating defeats in Premier League history. This channel is dedicated to bringing you awesome, regular content in and around the beautiful game of football. Let's dive in. The hard pill. Manchester United 8 to Arsenal. For many years, a stormy rivalry brewed between major title containers, Arsenal and Manchester United. But over the years, Arsenal's dip in performance had quelled the rivalry's intensity. At the beginning of the 2011-12 season, the Reds would clash again. Compared to Arsenal's lackluster season, Alex Ferguson's men had just come off a title triumph and were determined to defend their crown. Unfortunately, the Gunners headed to Old Trafford with a depleted squad, which saw the loss of crucial players like Alex Song, Frimpong, Gervinho, Sagna, Wilshere, and Diaby to suspension and injuries. The Red Devils would also be without their legendary center-back duo, Vidic and Ferdinand. But the stage was set for an entertaining afternoon with the 75,448 spectators present. The first half ended with a 3-1 lead for United with goals from Rooney, Welbeck, and Young, followed by Van Persie's consolation. Already brimming from the scoreline, United's attackers continued their onslaught as Rooney, Young, Ji-Sung Park, and Nani all found the back of Sini's net. At 7-2, the United faithful were quite satisfied, but a sublime free-kick technique to cap Waza's man-of-the-match performance was just the desert they needed. And so it ended, 8-2. Arsenal's worst humiliation since 1927, when they lost 7-0 to West Ham, and the first time they had conceded 8 goals since 1896. 2 centuries ago. Humble pie, Liverpool 7-0 Manchester United. Manchester United has had quite the season, filled with high highs and low lows. Earlier this season, they lost 6-3 to city rivals and fell to London underdogs Brentford in a 4-0 loss. After some locker room drama which saw Cristiano Ronaldo's departure and the rise of Marcus Rashford, the Red Devils began finding their foot again. Before this fixture, the club had just ended their 6-year trophy drought and swatted Spanish giants. Barcelona, aside to progress in the Europa League quarterfinals amid an 11-game unbeaten run. Meanwhile, Liverpool was struggling to reach the top 4 and had just suffered a 5-2 defeat from Real Madrid in the UCL-QF. A trip to Anfield for another bout of the Northwest Derby brimmed confidence in the Red Devils. Boy, were they wrong. At halftime, Cody Gakpo's goal pulled the vibrant home side ahead of United's dull performance. But the main event was the second half. 6 unanswered goals from Klopp's men, featuring braces from Mohamed Salah, Gakpo, and Darwin Núñez, spelled a nightmare for Manchester United as they equaled their biggest defeat in Premier League history. For Salah, his brace meant a 128th and 129th goal for the Anfield outfit, overtaking Robbie Fowler as the club's highest goal scorer in Premier League history. And Liverpool recorded new heights in the derby, eclipsing a 7-1 victory from 1895 with their biggest win ever. Simply a feast for the Anfield faithful, blasts from the past. Middlesbrough 8-1 Manchester City. Before Mansour's millions, Manchester City was an almost unrecognizable team from the force of nature they are now. By the 2007-08 season, the Blues of Manchester had recovered from several woes, including near bankruptcy and relegation, and were putting up a fight to repeat their glory days many decades past. Sven-Goran Eriksson's Blues were headed into the last match day of the season with a satisfactory 9th-place finish and hopes for an even better campaign next season. And there stood Middlesbrough's Riverside with a hungry pack led by future England manager Gareth Southgate. Early in the contest, City centre-back Richard Dunn was sent off and Boro took full advantage. Alphonso Alves stole the headlines with a sublime hat-trick, but Fabio Rochenbach's free-kick screamer and Stuart Downing's monstrous performance were just the perfect recipes for a historic bloodbath. On the other end of the story was Andreas Isaksson, who made a rare, unfortunate appearance ahead of the regular number 1, Joe Hart. Fortunately for City, the next season saw the blessing of Sheikh Mansour's Golden Gauntlet. Although Middlesbrough were dealt the rough edge with a relegation the following campaign, the memory of that game lives on forever. Oh, by the way, a lot of hard work and care goes into these videos, so if you could help us out and click that lovely subscribe button, we'd greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, too. London is blue. Chelsea 6-0 Arsenal. Arsene Wenger was marking his 1,000th game in charge of the Gunners since he took charge in the summer of 1996. Unfortunately for the old-timer and his Reds, they were to be hosted by his arch-nemesis Jose Mourinho and Stamford Bridge. Interestingly, Wenger lost his 500th game in charge to Jose Mourinho in 2005, and he looked to ice the cake. Samuel Eto'o and Andre Schürrle understood the importance of the day as they opened the scoring within 10 minutes. Wenger's anniversary got even more complicated after Kieran Gibbs was sent off in the 15th minute, which saw Eden Hazard convert a penalty right after. Oscar scored to make it 4-0 at halftime and grabbed a brace after the break. The inevitable Mohamed Salah would later come off the bench to seal a memorable day for the Gunners. But it was even better for the Blues, who had scored 6 for the first time against their neighborhood rivals. Mourinho was more than happy to grab his biggest win margin in Premier League history and continue a streak of 11 games unbeaten against Arsene Wenger. Sorry ball, Manchester City 6-0 Chelsea. 5 years after their conquest of London's Reds, Chelsea fell in battle to another blue outfit in England. Chelsea had undergone several changes since Wenger's nightmare anniversary, with Maurizio Sarri at the helm and Olivier Giroud, who started for Arsenal that day, switching the ends of London. A visit to the Etihad featured a 90-minute curb stomping by a Pep Guardiola side on rampage. Within the first 20 minutes, Raheem Sterling had opened the scoring and Aguero grabbed a brace after. Gundogan's goal made it 4-0 at halftime and branded the London club with a wrong sort of déjà vu. By full-time, Aguero had completed his hat trick and Sterling found himself a brace to seal the torture. It was truly a game to forget for the Blues of London and Maurizio Sarri. Red August, Liverpool 9-0 Bournemouth. Liverpool's 2021-22 campaign ended in disappointing fashion. Although they did clinch both the FA Cup and EFL Cup trophies, the Reds had fallen short of their quadruple dream. The gruesome quest came to an end after losing the Premier League title on the last day to Manchester City and eventually falling to Real Madrid in the Champions League final. With a past that weighed heavy and fresh squad problems, Jurgen Klopp's men were finding it hard to build rhythm in the new league season as they failed to win any of their first 3 matches. But their fortunes changed when Scott Parker's Bournemouth came visiting. The gap in quality became evident after Luis Diaz's opener in the 3rd minute, and was quickly followed by Harvey Elliott's finish in the 6th minute. Trent Alexander-Arnold also took his place on the scoresheet with a screamer from 25 yards out. Further goals from Roberto Firmino and Van Dijk gave Liverpool a 5-0 lead at halftime. It got no better for the visitors as Bournemouth defender Chris Meffam scored an own goal in the 1st minute of the 2nd, followed closely by Firmino's 2nd goal. Luis Diaz and Fabio Carvalho sealed the goal fest to the delight of Anfield. In the aftermath, Scott Parker was sacked and Liverpool faithfuls felt much better about the previous season. New lows, Aston Villa 7-2 Liverpool. 2 years before they would make history, Klopp's Reds were on the receiving end themselves. Liverpool were on course to defend their first title in the Premier League era, but Dean Smith's men had other ideas. At halftime, Mohamed Salah's 100th Premier League milestone goal proved insignificant, as it was on the lower end of Oli Watkins' hat-trick and John McGinn's volley. The football world was shocked at the halftime 4. One scoreline, but much worse happened later on. Ross Barkley reopened the fest with a goal, and Jack Grealish's brace put the icing on the cake at the empty Villa Park. Once again, Mohamed Salah's 101st goal was rendered insignificant. Nobody had it as rough as Adrian, who lived through the nightmare himself after filling in for Alisson Becker that evening. His appearance marked the first time Liverpool had conceded 7 goals since 1963. Another one, Southampton 0-9. Leicester City, 2019. Leicester City had begun the 2019-20th season with a vibrant charge for the English crown, and they came to St. Mary's Stadium with one crucial mission in mind: to win. Leicester's mission started out great as the Blues went up 3-0 within 19 minutes. The contest itself had been chaos as Ryan Bertrand got sent off, while the trident of Ayoze Perez, Ben Chilwell, and Yuri Tielemans all grabbed a goal. Ayoze Perez completed his brace before the break, and Jamie Vardy's strike made it 5-0 at halftime. Oh well, in the next half, Brendan Rodgers' men continued their onslaught as Ayoze Perez's third goal and Vardy's second came within a minute of each other. In the dying minutes of the game, James Maddison scored a sublime free kick for the cherry on the cake. But it was Vardy's third goal from the penalty spot that wrapped up the nightmare for the Southampton faithfuls in injury time. As a result, Leicester City climbed to second and Southampton sank to 18th place. But this game mattered beyond league positions, as it was carved into memory and history. Southampton would get mild revenge by defeating the Foxes 2-1 later that season, but the nightmare would haunt them once again after another 9-0 defeat, this time at Old Trafford. A harsh farewell. Stoke City 6-1 Liverpool, 2015. As we saw with Arsenal and Wenger, special events can bring quite the nightmare. The summer of 2015 marked the end of an era for Steven Gerrard and his 17-year career for the Reds. Unfortunately, the legend's 504th appearance was scheduled for a sunny afternoon at Stoke. Things went downhill for Gerrard's big day once the home side scored 3 goals in the opening 30 minutes. But the task got even steeper for Liverpool after 2 screamers from Charlie Adam and Steven Zanzi marked an unreal 5-0 lead at halftime. Liverpool had conceded 5 goals in the first half for the first time in the club's Premier League history. The next half saw Gerrard grab his 186th goal on his big day, but it was only a drop in the ocean after former teammate Peter Crouch sealed the 6-1 with a trademark header. Ouch! The pioneers of misery Manchester United, 9 Ipswich. Town Zero, in United's quest to defend their Premier League crown, they would have a fateful encounter with Ipswich Town in March 1995. The Old Trafford was intimidating for Ipswich Town's relegation battle, but they had beaten the reigning champions earlier in the season and were amped up for a similar result. In fact, the Red Devils had only won 1 game against Ipswich Town in the newly created Premier League. Prior to the match, Ipswich's back 4 defense was described as the slowest legs the game had ever seen, featuring an average age of 32. United's attacking setup of Andrei Kanchelskis, Ryan Giggs, Andy Cole, and Mark Hughes were back to have an easy time against these slowpokes. And so it happened. Old Trafford had a party where United thoroughly dominated Ipswich from top to bottom. Roy Keane was the first off the mark that evening within 15 minutes, and Cole rolled in his first of the day. Another strike from Cole sealed a 3-0 deal at halftime. But Alex Ferguson demanded 3 more goals from his men in the locker room, and the Reds responded with even more ferocity. Shortly after the restart, Cole found the back of the net and a hat trick. The next 2 goals were the results of sublime combinations between Giggs and Hughes. Once again, Cole found the back of the net for his 4th and United's 7th. In the riot and chaos, Craig Forrest, the Ipswich keeper, handled the ball outside his box. The referee awarded a direct free kick, but Forrest desperately argued with the decision. While Forrest contested, Paul Ince simply lobbed the ball into the net for the 8-0. "We want 10!" The spoiled Old Trafford chanted in delight. "We want 10!" Ryan Giggs' sweet delivery from the corner kick put the ball on the platter for Cole to deliver a whopping 9-0 finale. Andy Cole's 5th of the game remains a record for most goals scored in a single match. And the scoreline also shares the record for the highest victory in Premier League history. Ferguson later remarked that he hoped his men would hold back a bit in favor of fellow Scotsman and Ipswich manager George Burley. Burley himself declined a post-match interview. At the end of the day, leveling Ipswich Town failed to hand them the league title as they finished 1 point behind Blackburn Rovers, but for the fans it was just enough. And players like Andy Cole earned quite a reputation after Forrest named him the man who made his life a misery. Thanks so much for sticking around until the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. But why stop now? Click this video right here for more awesome content.